Hello students. Today we are going to discuss about international economic institutions. This is our third module. We all know that a broad set of institutions from the World Trade Organization, WTO, then World Bank, then International Monetary Fund, all these institutions underpin global trade and economic exchange. From a broader perspective, we can understand that these international organizations are helping to set the international agenda. Many cases, they act as mediators for political bargaining. They also provide political initiatives. They act as catalysts for economic developments. However, if we bring down little more, we can find that they play a major role in the social and economic development programs of nations. They take up the role of advising on development projects, funding them, and assisting in their implementation. So, in this module, we are going to have a detailed explanation on the role and functions of these international economic institutions. Are you there with me? Did you get a background of what we are going to discuss? I hope yes. Okay, let's move forward. This is our agenda. Mainly, we will be discussing about these 6 international economic institutions, starting with IMF, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, UNCTAD, New Development Bank, World Trade Organization. Going further, I have put all these in one single chart to help you to understand in a better way. It will also help you to make a comparative analysis of these institutions. Are you ready with me? See, I have put in the chronological order. In 1944, we have the World Bank and it's headquartered in Washington. 1945, IMF was set up. It's headquartered in Washington, USA. UNCTAD, it is in 1964. It's headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Then we have Asian Development Bank, which is in 1966. It was set up in 1966 and it's headquartered in Manila, Philippines. Then we have WTO, World Trade Organization, which was formed in 1995. It's headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. And the most recent one is New Development Bank. It was founded in 2014 and it's headquartered in Shanghai, China. So these are the major economic institutions which we would be discussing in this module. Now, next thing what you have to understand is below each I have put the primary functions rendered by these institutions. Even though on a broader scale they help in the development of trade, commerce, better relationship, and also upliftment of the lower developing economies, all these, but specifically these institutions are interested with certain basic functions. We will be discussing this in the coming few slides. Okay, now we'll start with the first one. We have heard a lot about World Bank. We have heard about IBRD. We are going to look into detail what is the basic function of World Bank. Primarily, World Bank is a combination of 5 organizations. First one is IBRD. We know that it is International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Second one is International Development Association, that is IDA. Third one is International Finance Corporation or IFC. MIGA is nothing but Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. And the last one is International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. I repeat, International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. So, World Bank as such is a combination of these 5 organizations. In fact, when International Bank for Reconstruction and Development lends to governments of middle income and credit-worthy lower income countries, the International Development Association provides interest-free loans called as credits and grants to governments of poorest countries. And together, IBRD and IDA makes up the major function of World Bank. But if we pin down the function of World Bank accurately, there are 2 major functions. One is to end poverty, and the second one is to promote shared prosperity among the world nations. And this prosperity is expected in a sustainable way. So, in short, World Bank is a group of 5 organizations which are aiming at, ending extreme poverty conditions across the global environment and also promoting a shared prosperity through sustainable ways. We've already told about IBRD and IDA and the role performed by them. Now we will discuss about IFC. International Finance Corporation is the largest global development institution which is focused exclusively on private sector. This organization helps countries to achieve sustainable growth by financing investment, mobilizing capital in international financial markets, and also by providing advisory services to business and governments. I hope you got that. Primarily, they are looking into the private sector. Now the next. As the name indicates, the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency was created in the year 1988 to promote foreign direct investment into developing countries. This was basically to support economic growth, reduce poverty, and improve people living condition. And if you look closely, these goals are very much aligned with the primary goal of World Bank. So, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency was set up primarily for looking into the affairs of developing countries. Now, MIGA fulfills this mandate by offering political risk insurance or guarantee to the investors and lenders who are promoting their business in developing economies. There is a great amount of risk when people from developed nations are looking for investments in developing countries. In order to promote these developed country investments coming into developing economies, MIGA offers security. It's like an insurance, a guarantee that this guarantee is not simply given to all the countries. They look into various factors, they analyze the risk involved over there, and they communicate with the parties who are ready to invest over there, and also they provide risk coverage like insurance to these investments. So they are promoting the kind of investments to flow into developing economies. Now, the last organization which is part of World Bank is INCSID, or otherwise it is International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. The name itself say they are involved in dispute settlement. So that's it. They provide international facilities for conciliation and arbitration of investment disputes. They provide a venue for settlement of various disputes that may arise due to the international investments. Are you there with me? So we were talking about World Bank. It was set up in 1944. It's headquartered in Washington, D.C., USA. And there are 5 organizations that make up the World Bank. First one is International Bank for, tell me, come along with me, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Second one is International Development Association. Third one is International Finance Corporation. Fourth one is the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. And the last one is International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. And the basic function performed by World Bank is to end extreme poverty and also to promote shared prosperity among the world nations. In fact, if you look into the basic objective of all these economic institutions, you can find that it is very much aligned to these 2 basic objectives. So that's it. Are you ready to move further? Can we discuss about IMF? I know that you've heard about IMF, you have read about IMF, and you know some of the functions performed by IMF. IMF, as you know, it is International Monetary Fund. It was set up in 1945. It was created in 1945. It's an organization of 189 countries as its members. And the primary function of IMF, if you look in, it is very much aligned to the function of World Bank. The primary function of IMF is stability of international monetary system. So basically for stability, you need rules, you need regulations, you need guidelines for establishing cooperation among various members. So that is it, international monetary cooperation among the member countries. Now the second is expansion and balanced growth of international trade. That is facilitating or providing the necessary factors which are, or providing the necessary facilities which can provide expansion and encourage a balanced growth of international trade. So that includes the tariff, that includes quotas, that include the type of financial assistance, that includes exchange rate regulations. All these come under the purview of International Monetary Fund. But broadly, they facilitate in financing international trade. Okay? And that is why ultimately they are also into bringing foreign exchange stability. Now, how is that possible? Foreign exchange stability can be attained only when the market conditions are normalized. Right? So that is the basic role performed by IMF. When you look in very closely, you can find they also help in international payments. That is, that enables country to transact with each other. They also establish a system of exchange rate. Right. So, as we know, India is also a member of IMF. So these are the broad functions performed by IMF, which I have summarized into three broad headings. One is international monetary cooperation among the member countries. Two is expansion and growth, a balanced growth of international trade, especially among the member countries, but it is not limited to member countries. Third one is establishment of foreign exchange stability. So these are the main functions of IMF. I hope you are there with me. Can you have a recap in your mind? What are the major functions of World Bank and IMF? Yes, I hope you are there with me. Now we are going to discuss about UNCTAD. It is established, you can see the chart. It is established in 1964, currently headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, right? And there are 195 member countries as of now. Okay. And if you look into the major functions, you will find that it is very much aligned with World Bank objectives. Right. So the major functions of, can you just read UNCTAD? Yeah, economic and sustainable development issues are handled by this organization. It also encourages equitable participation from the member countries, not categorizing as developing economies, low development economies, or lower developing economies, developed economies. No, it encourages equitable participation from the countries, especially the member countries. It is actually governed by its 194 member states. Okay, and this United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that's a full form of UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, was established in 1964 as a permanent intergovernmental body. So it is United Nations body responsible for dealing with economic and sustainable development issues with a focus on trade, okay, with a focus on trade, finance, investment, and technology. So here there are 4 sectors which is mentioned specifically into their activities. One is trade, another one is financing, second one is investment for the better opportunities, and technology advancements. They help in bringing technology advancements, especially in the member countries. That's how they encourage equitable participation among the member countries. So they help in looking into the projects which are sustainable. They help in developing those projects. They also help in trade and trade related activities. They finance wherever the requirement of finance is needed. They also encourage investments, bringing in more investments, especially to the developing countries, right? And they help in technology advancements. It's not a direct intervention, but it is indirectly by providing a platform for the operation of member countries, right? So it is United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Have you learned the full form? United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. I hope you have learned, right? So it was established in 1964, headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. We learned about 3 economic institutions. Can we go to the 4th one? Yes, I hope the answer is yes. Here I have again put it. The date of establishment of Asian Development Bank was 1966. Okay, it is headquartered in Manila, Philippines. As on March 2019, ADB, otherwise called as ADB. ADB has 68 member countries. The name itself, it indicates it's mainly concentrating on Asia Pacific region. It's World Bank, it looks towards the global economy. There is no special concentration like Asian, Eastern, North Asian, or Latin country, nothing like that. They look as a global scenario. But here, Asian Development Bank was set up primarily to look into the affairs, especially to Asia and Pacific nations. Okay, so ADB totally has 68 members. From that, 49 members, 49 members are from Asia Pacific region, and the rest are from other regions. So what is the rest? 19. 19 are from other regions. India is also a member of ADB, Asian Development Bank. Okay. And when you look into the function, it's same. It is same with what is World Bank is concentrating on. That is eradicate extreme poverty and promote a prosperous, inclusive and sustainable economy. But here, Asian Development Bank is concentrating specifically to Asia and Pacific region. Learners, are you there with me? I'm just giving you clues to learn it easily. Okay, you have to learn all together 6 economic institutions which are operating in the international scenario. So it'll be easy for you to make a comparative study. Okay. That is why I said, as against World Bank, which has a worldwide coverage, ADB provides assistance only to Asian countries. So they are specifically concentrating on providing financial assistance to Asian countries. Are you there with me? Okay with that? Can I move on to the next one? Okay, I'm moving to the next one, WTO. As you know, WTO is World Trade Organization. And this is also an intergovernmental organization that is concerned with the regulation of international trade between nations. It's very much understood from here. WTO, World Trade Organization. So that is basically looking at international trade between nations. It is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. It has some total of 164 members. It was established in 1995. And the primary goal of WTO is to ensure that trade flows are smooth, predictable, and free as far as possible. I repeat, trade flows between the member countries, especially between the member countries, are smooth, predictable, and as free as possible. As free as possible in the sense without much tariff, quotas, trade distorting strategies, all that. Okay. Now we will look into the detailed objectives of WTO. The detailed objective of WTO, I put it, I have numbered it. That is administering the WTO trade agreements. They have to look into administering the WTO trade agreements. It's already said when they were said, but it needs to be revised looking into the changes in the global market, financial market. So they will revise as and when through the ministerial conferences, which is part of your first assignment in this module. So we'll come to that later in a detailed way. So administering WTO trade agreements. Second one is they provide a forum for trade negotiation especially among the member countries. India is a member. They provide a forum for trade negotiations among the member countries. Are you there with me? Simple. It's all related with trade. So you can learn it easily. Now, the third one is settling or handling trade disputes among the member nations, which we will discuss in detail. What is the process involved in trade settlement, trade dispute settlement. We are going to learn that. Okay. And the fourth one is monitoring members' trade policies. Because if that is not being done properly, it will result in a lot of trade disputes. So they will also look into monitoring the members' trade policies. And finally, the most important one, to have an equitable participation from the nations, they provide technical assistance and training to members, especially those from the developing and least developed countries. They provide, and then only there will be an equitable platform, because developed nations, they're well advanced in technology as well as in other activities. So WTO provides technical assistance and training to developing and least developed economies. So there is an equitable platform among the member countries. Okay. And the last one is cooperating with other international organizations. You know the reason for that, because basically if you look very very close to the objectives of these international economic institutions, all of it is built on the same platform, that is making a better economy, better global economy through mutual cooperation. So that is why they also assist in building that goal by cooperating with other international organizations. So can we come again to that? By the time we finish this, you should also finish learning the objectives of all these economic institutions. Okay, so World Trade Organization, it was set up in 1995. It is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and there are currently 164 member countries. And the primary objective, as I said in the beginning, what is that? I said 3 words. Do you remember those words? The primary objective of WTO. What is that? Smooth, predictable, and free. What should be in these 3 conditions? It is to ensure that trade flows are smooth, predictable, and free as far as possible. Free is not without having any money or in penny. It's not that, without much barriers. That's what we mean as free. Okay, freely as possible. Trade should happen as freely as possible, without much barriers between the boundaries of different nations. So this is the basic goal that is expanded to administering WTO trade agreements, providing forum for trade negotiations, especially among the member countries, handling of trade disputes, which may happen while entering into trade, then monitoring the members' trade policies in order to minimize the happening of trade disputes, providing technical assistance and training, basically to bring the developing and least developed economies into a equitable platform. Because if they are very low and they are trying to compete with developed nations, it's not possible. They will not be able to win the deal. So that is why they train, they provide technical assistance to bring these nations to an equitable platform in the trading floor. Okay. Now the last one is cooperation with other international organizations, because I said the reason they all exist for the benefit of the global economy. That's why they cooperate well with the other economic institutions. Okay. Are you there with me? It's clear? Okay. We are moving further to the next one, which is New Development Bank. New Development Bank, as you can see, this is the recent one, just the latest one, which has happened in 2014. Actually, during the fourth BRICS summit in New Delhi, 2012, we can be proud of 2012, the leaders of Brazil, Russia, you know that India, China, and South Africa considered the possibility of setting up a new development bank, primarily to mobilize resources for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in BRICS and other similar emerging economies. Okay, so the origin, the idea had been put forth in the BRICS summit, which was held in 2012 in New Delhi in India. Okay, and it was set up in 6th BRICS. So the idea came up in 4th BRICS, that was in 2012. It was established in 6th BRICS summit. Okay, that was in 2014. The agreement was made for establishing new development bank. Now the word new, that you have to remember it very clearly. The word new intends to be new in 3 broad categories. Okay, the word new in New Development Bank intends to be new in 3 broad areas. First one is in relationship, the kind of relationship especially between the BRICS nation. Which are the BRICS nations? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And the second new is with respect to projects and instruments and its implementation. And the third one is with respect to approaches in the dealing, with respect to approaches in the market practices. So, a relationship of equality, mutual respect, and trust between the members of NDB. Okay, national sovereignty is the paramount goal of such relationship. You are maintaining your identity, at the same time you are helping to build a relationship, you are helping to develop a nation with a cooperation. So NDB supports projects tailored to the needs of individual countries, respecting their development priorities and strategies. You know why that is being said? Because for a maybe least development countries, provision of food would be their supreme priority. But that may not be the case of an emerging economy. For them, maybe they have to go with developing a manufacturing sector. Maybe they are giving more priority to exporting of the products. But that goal may not be same for another country which is under the category of least developing economies. So that is why NDB supports project tailored to the needs of individual countries. So this is little more narrowing down the existing goals. That's all. You're bringing down to few nations for a better control. Right. And when we talked about the projects. These projects mainly are sustainable infrastructure development. Because you can find that emerging countries and maybe LDCs, they lack in technology. So New Development Bank concentrates on development of sustainable infrastructure in these nations. And thereby they aim to be fast, flexible, and efficient by designing of more streamlined projects. Now, what do you mean by streamlined projects? Streamlined projects are very much related to the basic objective of a particular nation. So here they are specifically looking into the needs of each of these member countries. There are 68 countries as members. Even though it was originally formed by BRIC countries, there are 68 member countries who are looking for the assistance from New Development Bank. So the specific development goals are set for each nation, and that is built in relation with the better relationship with the other nations, especially other member nations. So that is the basic idea or the concept of New Development Bank. Are you there with me? Right? So New Development Bank, it is the latest one which was set up in 2014. It's headquartered in Shanghai, China, and it has 68 member countries. And basically here they aim at building a better relationship by respecting each other's national sovereignty, aiming at encouraging those projects which have a long run impact, positive impact on these countries. So that is why they aim at sustainable infrastructure development, especially in the developing and least developed nations. And the approaches, that is little different. Their approaches, they look into the specific needs of each nation before approaching a project, or before maybe sanctioning a project. So that need will differ from country to country. That is why it is said a relationship of equality, mutual respect, and trust between NDB members is written as an agenda in the rules of NDB. Okay, so that's it. We talked about the 6 international economic institutions which are playing a bigger role in managing the international trade. I hope you are there with me. Can we have a quick look into all these in 2 minutes? I'll give you 2 minutes. Just look into that. Right, students. Now we are going to discuss about WTO and agreements. Literally speaking, there are 60 agreements with WTO, and it falls into a structure of 6 main parts. Okay, I have put that 6 parts here. There are literally almost 60 agreements, and broadly they can be categorized into 6 parts. The first part is about agreement which is concerned with establishing WTO. World Trade Organization, establishments, rules, regulations, all that category will come as the first one. The second one is agreement for trade on goods, which we will discuss again when we are discussing this box. Third one is agreement for trade on service, again, which will be for our discussion later when we are taking this box. Then agreement for trade on intellectual property. Fifth one is agreement on dispute settlement. Sixth one, it is a continuous review of government trade policies with respect to different countries. It will be from, it is a global perspective which is related to actions, policies taken by governments across the member countries. Okay, so 60 agreements which is categorized into 6. In that, we are most aware about 2 and 3. Because that's an agreement for trade on goods and agreement for trade on services. We have often heard about GATT and GATS. So first we are going to discuss about GATT. GATT, it is General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. GATT was a free trade agreement between 23 countries, including India, that eliminated tariffs and increased international trade. So we were talking about WTO and their support for international trade. They were trying to remove the barriers to facilitate the trade in a better way. So this is one agreement that is going aligned with that basic goal of free trade. So here, GATT, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, is concerned with trade in goods. and it is aimed at liberalizing trade for the betterment of member countries. I hope you are there with me. So we discussed about one agreement, that is GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. It's sometimes referred to as GATT 1994, because we already, even before the settled maybe formation of WTO, we had GATT, which was again no, a contract, and it was looking into goods, services, intellectual property rights all together before the setting up of WTO. But after WTO becoming an organization, it separated the roles into different agreements. GATT was retained, but GATT was limited to agreement on tariff and trade. Then we have GATS, GATS, that is Agreement for Trade on Services, General Agreement for Trade on Services. It is actually, as the name indicates, it is the service trade rules of WTO. Its objectives include establishing a sound multilateral framework or principles and rules for trade in services within the member countries. And I mentioned here, it covers 161 tradable services like financial services, for example, banking, insurance, other services like education, telecommunication. It's all been covered under GATS. Okay, so it is basically a primary step towards service trade that was reached at the Uruguay round. So we talked about GATT and GATS, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, and General Agreement on Trade in Services. The next one, what we are going to discuss is the third one, the fourth one, that is TRIPS. TRIPS is trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. Trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. So the name itself indicates what's this agreement all about, right? This agreement contains an agreement on trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, which came into force from 1st January 1995. It basically lays down minimum standards for protection and enforcement of intellectual property rights in member countries. In fact, this is a basic requirement to reduce the maybe disputes, distortions, and impediments to international trades. Are you there with me? So we talked about GATT, we talked about GATS, and now we spoke about TRIPS, trade-related aspects of intellectual property